Wait, we're getting an energy reading from C-Deck, from inside Minsc's quarters. GameMasters here, and we are checking out Book 3 in the new Spelljammer setting, Light of Xaryxis. And I'll tell you now, this video will contain spoilers, but I know that I have Dungeon Masters watching as well as players, and I'm going to do my best to avoid any spoilers about the adventure's story. But I will be chatting a bit about locations and a couple of goodies that are hidden away in this book. But I can assure you, there might be spoilers. Probably. First up, however, is the disclaimer. This adventure wreaks havoc with your beautifully imagined homebrewed campaign world. We hope that your players will care enough about your world to save it. But if not, may we present the Rock of Brawl as an alternative. Just remember to leave your vendettas at the docks. This book is broken up into 4 parts and has 12 chapters. Oh, right. Yeah, that's pixelated. Okay, so let me jump right into this first part and find some stuff that I can spoil. What this book is, it's an adventure, and it tells you right off in the first paragraph that it will take you from the world you are on and will venture into wild space and the astral sea upon a spelljamming ship, which should be fairly obvious, what with this being a Spelljammer setting and all. The first section also states, the information in this book is for DM's eyes only. If you're planning to play the adventure with someone else as your DM, stop reading now. Let's continue. And remember, there will be spoilers. What is Xaryxis? It is a star, and it's dying. Yet something sinister is happening that causes it to briefly spark back to its full luminous glory, but only for a short time before its light begins to dim again. The players will be tasked with ultimately resolving this plot, but more on Xaryxis a little later. Gosh, how do I pixelate this again? Oh well, the adventure itself has 4 parts, with each one broken down into 3 chapters, with each part designed to last roughly 2 to 3 hours. Yeah, some groups could breeze through it much faster, while other groups might take a little bit longer. Ultimately, it's going to be up to the DM to keep the story on track, but the neat thing about Dungeons & Dragons is you can, and especially now with Spelljammer, you can go anywhere. Well, almost. Much of this adventure is heavily inspired from the 1980s film Flash Gordon, and I'll show you a bit later in this video one of the prime examples. Stick around. The inspiration is mainly found in that, we have a group of heroes that are tasked with defeating otherworldly foes in order to save their planet, and ultimately the entire universe. That's the basic trope of this adventure. Like old radio serials of the past, yeah, I know, you guys are probably not old enough to remember those. I'm barely old enough to remember it. But each one would end on a cliffhanger, as does the end of each chapter here. It sets up for wanting you to have more, something to thirst for. This adventure assumes that the characters are at least 5th level when starting to play, and the Spelljammer Academy found on D&D Beyond would be a great way to get players into the Spelljammer mindset, but you could also just as easily roll up some level 5 crits. One element that I'm not terribly keen on, but it's something I'm going to accept, is that level advancement in this adventure happens when you've completed each part. Why I don't like this? I tend to deviate from what is written. Eventually we'll get back on track, but I encourage my players to explore and have fun. When they do that, they are likely to encounter many different monsters and will, by nature of defeating those monsters, gain experience. At a certain point, it stands to reason that they may exceed the recommended level of the specific section in this book that they're playing. I can adjust it. It's not a major issue. It's just one element that I'm not terribly keen on. Keen. The players will begin in a coastal town of the DM's choosing. They are going about their daily lives and will be witness to a meteor shower that has been happening over the past several nights. Suddenly, massive crystalline vines erupt from the ground, and thus begins their adventure into wild space. Now, this is where I'm going to depart from the actual storyline spoilers, but I do want to toss out some fun treasure spoilers. Ready? There is a strong hint that it is possible to steal a Spelljammer helm from a ship. And remember, back to this video, it is in the form of a large chair, so stashing it away until a suitable ship can be found might be key. Want another? If you run across a chair that's not a spelljamming chair, check the armrests. You might find a spell scroll inside. Another one? Check the dead body for a stone. It's not just any stone. Oh, and if you run across a strange tower floating atop an asteroid, be sure to check the shelves out on the 3rd floor. Now, in exchange for those top secret spoilers, give that like button a thumbs up. It helps get my videos out to more eyes, and I might be encouraged to give more spoilers out in future videos. Let's see. What are some other goodies? Oh, okay. Seeing how a lot of what happens on Spelljammer takes place on ships that can sail in the astral seas and the voids of space, one is bound to encounter space pirates. Let's take a look at the Pirates Code. Article 1. Don't eat each other. No crew member shall partake of another crew member's flesh or drink their blood. Article 2. No hymns. Many crew members' ears are sensitive to holy praise. While aboard the ship, bards and other musicians are only allowed to play secular tunes. Article 3. Coward's consequence. Those who abandon their post and shirk their duty shall be marooned. Article 4. No shipboard conflicts. All disputes shall be settled on land. Of course, the DM is free to add or adjust these codes as they see fit, and the players are encouraged to design their own should they find themselves with their own pirate ship. Back in the original Spelljammer, large areas of space were contained within crystal spheres. If your Spelljammer were to travel far enough, it would simply smack into one of these crystals. And these things were strong enough to possibly destroy one ship. In this new version, those crystal spheres have kind of been done away with, allowing one to travel to various locations. Perhaps the realm where Dark Sun takes place, or Dragonlance, if you wanted to come from there or travel there. Perhaps you might even encounter some old remnants of these crystals, as this description states, the silvery haze thins as the ship enters a system that appears to have no sun. The ship glides between colossal fragments of smoky gray crystal remnants of an outer shell of fantastic proportions. As silent and lifeless as a graveyard, Doomspace gives new meaning to the phrase, dead of night. And that brings us to Doomspace. Thousands of years ago, there was a war between gods and primordials in which the primordials banished the gods. The primordials then encased the entire system in a massive crystal sphere that kept the gods out. Eons passed as the gods attempted to chip away at that crystal. Eventually they did, and collapsed the sun, leaving behind a gravity well vortex known as the Eye of Doom. This map depicts where the planets are and their moons in relation to the Eye of Doom. And while there is very little actual information provided about each, for example, Vault, marked as number 1 on the map, very close to the eye there in the center, is only described as Vault, was one of Firene's moons until it was ripped from the planet's orbit by the Eye of Doom. It is days away from disappearing into the vortex. And that's it. I have a feeling that many homebrew content creators will most certainly flesh out Doomspace. It would be prime real estate for a horror-based campaign or adventure for sure. Perhaps a Cthulhu or even an Event Horizon-inspired one-shot. Xaryxis Space is another location that you will run across. We mentioned at the start of this video Xaryxis being a sun. It is also the title of this adventure, Light of Xaryxis. Well, Xaryxis Space is the area and space around, well, Xaryxis. It's a white-hot star and is in the heart of an astral elf empire, and they use it to fuel their magic. Not a major spoiler there, but I referenced Flash Gordon earlier, and that this adventure was inspired in part by the 1980s movie. The ending of it ends with Ming the Merciless being harpooned by Flash Gordon's ship. We see Ming's ring fall to the ground and his body disappears. And we then see someone pick up that ring, and we hear Ming's laughter echo as the words, "The End," appear on screen, followed by a question mark, indicating that that might not be the end. Okay, now check this out. The book ends in the same way. It's little details like that, pop culture references, that I really dig, and with Spelljammer, I can't help but feel that, well, the sky's the limit for imagination and Dungeons & Dragons. We've jumped into the 3 books that are in the Spelljammer box set, and I have many more videos planned, including some deep dive looks at the map of the Rock of Brawl. If you want to check out all the material that we've looked at so far, check out this playlist. It's only going to grow as I add more to it. Let me know in the comments if this video was too spoiler heavy, if it wasn't spoiler enough, or if it was just right. And until next our paths cross, may you take the first star to the right and head straight on till morning.